Welcome into episode number 9 of Cashin The Check. I am your host, Tyler Asher.
I am your co-host, Tiffany Anton.
TA squared
TA
in the
squared.
house today.
Tyler, what was the other one? Oh, multiple.
TNT.
TNT. Oh,
Blowing
yeah.
up your business.
Yeah.
I still like that one.
That's good too. So,
Lay it on us today. What do you got
So-
happening today to get our...
Our ducks in a row. Listen, I couldn't get the talent around here to give me some sound effects, so I had to do it myself. So, to get our ducks in a row.
Legit just pulled out. Oh.
Yeah. So we're ready now to do. You love it. It's the best thing.
I need a drink.
Could you imagine if you had a different co-host that didn't make
It'd be boring on me just
sound
that much.
effects? That didn't,
What's kind of weird though is, we posted that a couple weeks ago, and I've not got any new applications for a new co-host on Indeed.
No. Yeah. But speaking of, well, maybe I'll drop a hint at a guest that's coming on. I like to laugh at myself, and so does our guest. A lot likes to laugh at himself. So,
He thinks your football coach should play a little football,
he
right?
does think that. So anyway, to our jokes segment.
Getting our ducks in a row.
If Bill Gates had a penny for every time I had to reboot my computer. Oh, wait, he does. Hey, boss, what's a committee? 12 people doing the job of one.
It's very true.
Hey, boss, why did the employee get fired from the calendar factory? Oh, we did that one already. They took a day off.
Give us like a good one.
Oh, goodness.
Half man, half price store.
What days are the strongest? Saturday and Sunday. The rest are weekdays.
Like, who invented a 5-day work week anyways?
I don't know, because clearly, way back in life, it was a 7-day work week, right? Like, it was a 7-day work week. Like, the working was like hunting, gathering, taking care of the cabin. Okay, what? Hey, boss, I heard you are going to fire the employee with the worst posture. I have a hunch it might be me.
I think we've done that one already.
I feel like.
Oh, God.
Okay. Anyway, nothing ruins a Friday more than understanding that today is Tuesday. On that note, we're about to have a guest on today.
Our guest is coming on
For Lucky Number 9. Is
Lucky
that a
Number
thing?
9 is someone who, over the year, we've gotten closer. We talk almost daily.
Yeah,
It's just-
I talk almost daily to this guest too.
That's because you work with him.
I work for him. He's my boss. So we're thankful enough. I don't know why I looked up he was godly.
You're worshiping him.
Yes. We're lucky enough that he allows me to come over here and hang out with you and do things like this. And
All we want to do is help businesses. That's our main goal. And so I feel like they give us the freedom that anything we want to do that can help a business grow. They get a little bit of info. They're going to let us do it. So guess what?
I'm out.
You're in his seat.
I'm in a seat.
I need you to
It's time for me to get out.
hit the door.
Okay. Peace out.
Well, welcome in, guys, to this week's Big Picture. I'm very excited to have this gentleman sitting to my left. He has turned into a really good friend. We talk almost daily, and his wife thinks we have a little bit of a bromance going on. So welcome, Jeff Brown, who is head of the Biz Foundry. Thank you for doing this podcast with me today.
Oh, glad to be here. So we've certainly generated plenty of material over the last year and a half or so.
Yes, we have generated a lot of material. So I'm going to tell you for the next 9 minutes and 36 seconds, sit back, hold on, and enjoy this ride. So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and just some things, because in our positions, we hear so much about people who say, well, I'm afraid to do this, or I don't want to go into business because it's risky. And I tell them, hey, all things that have been successful started with risks somewhere along the line. There's no guarantee on anything. We hear that a lot. Well, I don't want to give up a guaranteed paycheck, or that's just risk. That's part of the risk reward factor in being an entrepreneur. Sure. So I'm going to give Jeff a scenario, and let's let him talk through his experience, because he's been doing this for a long time, what he would recommend to that person. So for those of you who don't know, we live in a college town. We got someone over at Tennessee Tech. Maybe they're in engineering. Maybe they're in business. Maybe they're in nursing. And they say, man, I see a need for this business, but I'm afraid to do it. Or what should I do? What would you tell that individual?
Well, so the first thing is just start, right? A lot of people, like you said, are afraid of the risk, but I mean, I use one of the analogies I use is everybody's like, is now a good time to start a business? Well, it's like having kids. There's never the right time, and it never happens at the right time.
Because if you get found unless you're ready to start a business, you're never going to start a business.
Right. Yeah. So we see a lot of people that are for 5 years are getting ready to start a business because they just can't, and that's okay. It's not for everybody.
Right.
But really, the thing is just to accept that risk of failure. And when we say failure, it comes from we're all supposed to make A's and never make a mistake, and so it's that kind of risk of public shame is really what we're talking about.
Half of entrepreneurship is making mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what failure means.
Right.
Is make your mistakes faster. So you hear us say fail faster. So that means make your mistakes faster so you can learn faster.
First attempt in learning.
First attempt at learning. So failure is okay if you learned from it. Failure and you keep doing the same thing over and over is
That's
definition
insanity.
of insanity. So, but just really get help. Go to the TSBDC, go to the Business Foundry, find a mentor, get advice from people who have started and built and run and manage a business. One of our biggest problems is people taking well-intentioned, but a lot of advice from people who have never done it. So.
I think that sometimes too gets frustrating, and I can say this even like in the educational world, is you have people who try to teach business, but they have never owned a business. They don't know what it's like from the perspective of having to make payroll. When you finally decide to bring on an employee, from my perspective, when I did it, is I was responsible for someone else's family, is the way I looked at it.
Sure.
And it's very difficult to separate that.
And most employees don't think you think that way. They think you're only worried about your money. But I mean, if you're a decent person, you worry about your employees. Yes. They got kids to feed, and just like you do. And so really the wanting to be in charge, but also understanding the responsibility that goes with that. So a lot of people, I want to be my own boss. Well, be careful if that's your main motivation. I mean, that can be part of it, but there's way more to it than that.
We hear that a lot too in our positions is people say, well, I'm going to be my own boss, but also, are you capable of being your own boss? Some people think that they are, but they really need someone telling them what to do, and they don't have that internal drive to get them to where they need to go. I know you see that a lot.
And it's just like I tell my team, I'm the CEO. We're basically a small business. We're a startup. We may be a nonprofit, but we operate just like a startup. And so, at the end of the day, being your own boss also means you're responsible for everything. Doesn't matter whose fault it was, you're ultimately responsible. So that's all part of what we talk about is the entrepreneurial mindset and kind of understanding what it's really like. And you touched on a point that we talk about a lot is I don't care what you've done, it's way different when it's your money and your kids' college savings or money from investors that you got. That's completely different than managing somebody else's business. And you got to be able to make that leap. And it's scary and it's okay. But if you get the right help and the right mentors, it cuts a lot of the learning to the chase, right? So you're not chasing after, you're not running down rabbit holes that waste time that somebody could have told you, I don't know about that. Here's what I did 5 years ago and that didn't work. And so that's a good mentor, right?
Correct. So let's say that individual we were talking about earlier, they're in college, they're wanting to get started. How would you recommend them get started? I don't think you'd want them to just full-fledged jump straight into it. Start off small, take some classes. Let's walk through that segment. Well, how would you do it?
So there's a time you got to jump, right? But when you're teaching a kid how to swim, most people don't just throw them in the pool the first day. You're going to work up to that a little bit. You probably did, but you're like me. You're weird. So anyway, but yeah, start working, take some classes. We use the business model canvas. So what we see is a lot of people think their idea is so good, their cheeseburger is so good that everybody will pay them to have it. And so, learn how to get customers and provide value to them. That's what they think, not just what you think they want. And so that's a hard transition to make. So our theory of entrepreneurship is prove you've got real customers that you provide real value to. You don't need to rent a building to do that. You don't
Correct.
need to do anything. You don't need to spend a lot of money to do that, right? And so start there, and you usually are going to get that from you or me or mentors that are out there helping, that'll help you. Here's how you really start and first decide, can it be a business?
Absolutely. I love that idea. And I always like the idea of like starting off small, off and get 1 or 2 customers.
It's an experiment.
Get some feedback.
Experiment, right?
And then also, and then you get like, in our last week's episode, we were talking about with Anthony is get those walking billboards. Get that free, easy advertisement to get your business up and going. I don't care if it's underwater basket weaving, but it gets you those customers and it lets you develop your process before you decide to take on a huge portion and go into it all the time.
Talking to 10, if you're talking to the right people that could really be customers, this idea of everybody's my customer is a complete fallacy, but you'll learn more talking to those potential customers. Again, experiment. How do you do small, inexpensive experiments on, does my idea have legs? And you'll learn more from talking to those, at least who you assume would be a customer, than you'll ever learn sitting in your office writing all these huge plans and projecting sales, because trust me, you're wrong in your initial thoughts.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. As we start working to closing up this episode, I want to ask you a couple things just because I love to hear your response. In your day-to-day operation, what's your favorite thing you get to do?
Actually meeting with entrepreneurs, right? So everything else I do because I have to, but that's what I live for. So, leading the team, all those kind of things that lead to help with entrepreneurs. But by far my favorite thing to do is the coaching and help them figure out a path.
What's the least favorite thing you have to do?
Reports. Yeah,
I'm right there with you.
That's another one of those things with being your own boss. Yeah, so if you start a company, you're still going to be filling out reports to this thing called the government. So you still have reports. It's just who you're turning them into.
Yeah,
changes is the only thing that changes. So yeah, you don't get away from that.
What is, if people are watching this, what's one thing that people who may know you, but they really don't know you, what's something that most people don't know about you?
I love to cook. That's my entertainment. That's not a email or a phone or so. I cook most of the meals at my house because to me that's a way to wind down when you get home of a day. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
That's mind blowing.
You can tell I eat a lot, but most people don't realize I do most of the cooking. So
that's mind blowing. I've known you for a while and that still shocks me. All right, we're gonna wrap up. Give 2 pieces of advice to people that are listening. Your 2 most favorite pieces of advice. Go.
So there's one I was telling Tiffany this morning that I saw on TV the other night. It's like, you don't have to be amazing to start, but you have to start to be amazing. And I'm stealing that forever. We're going to have it printed on our walls. And so I think that's a really good slogan for entrepreneurs, is that most people don't ever start a business from lack of, they never start. Because of all the things that get in the way, and that's fine. But understand, the way you get to be a good entrepreneur is the same way you get to be good at sports. You practice a lot, right? You get out there and do it. And so I guess that kind of wraps everything into one piece of advice than 2.
I like it. So. I like it. Well, thank you for coming and doing this.
Oh, you're very welcome.
You're busy, so thanks for this big picture. It was awesome. I hope you get something out of it, Jeff. You're the man as always. Thank you.
Well, that was Jeff Brown.
Jeff.
For you, listeners.
Listen, I'm surprised that we got that in a 10-minute segment.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I deserve a prize for reining him in.
Yeah. Do you remember the time that I had you and Jeff and
Michael Akins
on one radio program, and I was the host?
And it went way longer than it should.
It was a lot. I mean, I was like wrangling cats. I was like, people were taking selfies in the middle of it, and we all had like laughter juice.
The giggles.
Yes, like we couldn't stop laughing. It was a good time though. I enjoyed it.
That's been over a year ago.
Probably about that. Yeah.
Yeah, close to it. It was.
Yeah, I think we were launching the BRC at that time and stuff like that. So.
And if you haven't checked out, go to brcollective.org. if you're a new business or a business. There's some great resources. So this is our drinking the Kool-Aid segment is actually one that I quite heavily rely on. I mean, when I was in business, I always told the females that had worked for me, like, hey, if you get that gut feeling that we don't need to do this, or you like, speak up, tell me, because I think mom intuition and the mom test, like I feel like that is a real thing. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about on this segment.
The mom test.
The mom test. Your mom. I
am a mom.
Let's just jump right into the segment.
Two children.
How important is the mom test for you?
I think part of it is being in touch and in tune with like things that are going on. Okay. When you talk about intuition. So I think that when it comes to gut instinct, if you're just going, and often entrepreneurs and business owners are, and they're not in touch with like, reality. Does this feel right? Does this seem right? Does this, is this the right thing to do?
I think that the mom test can play a pivotal role in deciding on, should we do this expansion? Should we, and especially a lot of times in my role, like as the male, I would always come and be like, oh, I think we need to do this, and this. And then when I talked to my wife and she would process it, she's like, well, I just don't have a good feeling about that. Yeah. I feel like that is something that a lot of entrepreneurs maybe they don't rely on. Do you think that they just overlook it?
Well, I think it's sometimes hard to trust your own intuitions and your own gut feelings. But then I think the other part of a mom test, if you will, quote unquote, is that people will look to other people to give them insight on their business. And yet your mom's usually going to tell you that things are probably good. Moms aren't always the most honest. They're just a big cheerleader. That's very true. So, and it's good, your wife may say, hey, that doesn't, maybe, but you really need to be aware of who you're getting that advice from, because, and nothing against your wife personally, but some people their wives may think, that sounds risky about money. It may be better business-wise, but maybe the people that you're getting advice from don't know that business aspect of things. And so that's really important too, is to kind of be aware of whose guts you're trusting.
I agree. So let's flip-flop and go the opposite direction. Talking about the mom test, and you brought this up a minute ago about moms are the biggest cheerleaders. How many times does an entrepreneur need that cheerleader where mom was the only person who was like, I think you can do this?
Probably a lot.
I would agree.
I mean, it has taken me a long time to make a leap to start a more legitimate business. I mean, I've sold things. I've kind of developed products here and there, teaching resources. But it took me a long time, and I don't think I would do it unless I had those cheerleaders along the way.
Yeah, I would agree.
I needed it 100%.
That was with me. I would always call my mom and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And it was always like, oh, yeah, you can do that. Like, yeah. You fully can do that. No, I can't. Yeah, you can. Like, you can do this. I have the gumption, the know-how. Like, you can do this. And I feel like, too, some people that don't get that, they could be missing out on really pushing their business forward. Would you? Yeah. How do you feel about that?
It's scary. I mean, it's scary to take a leap. Yeah. It's scary to do something big and something that might lose money. I think, Jeff always says people's number one reason of not starting a business is fear of failure. Mine is fear of losing money. I mean, I feel like I'm the head of my household. I'm the sole breadwinner in my family. If I put myself in a risky financial situation, that's scary. That's scarier than failing. And I guess that maybe is part of failing, but the financial risk is
I think huge. The financial risk is always huge with people. And we talked about this in our last segment with Jeff, is that people always want a guaranteed paycheck. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're getting a guaranteed paycheck, you're living in a miserable, I feel like maybe not, I don't want to say miserable, but you're not using your full capability because you're a little bit afraid of going out on your own.
I think you can I have always kind of said if I wanted to be a garbage man, I would be a garbage man. Like, I only will put myself in situations where I want to be.
Right.
And so I'm going to find passion in whatever job I'm doing. But heck yeah, I want the guaranteed paycheck. Like, I have almost a year, a year's worth of my salary and my savings, and I'm like, is that enough? I know there's some people who barely have a month's worth of savings, but I'm like, I need a huge
It makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. It makes you like,
feel safe.
Yeah. But also, like, at what point do you have that? Do you like, I can take some risk? And then if you do take some risk,
that's dependent on the person, for sure.
I'm the one who has it, and I'm like, maybe it's time to take some risk. Like,
I don't know. I don't think I'm a super risky person. Do you think that there's a certain type of personality that makes a better entrepreneur? Is that a whole nother segment that we?
I don't think so, because to me, I think anybody can be an entrepreneur. It's whether or not you're willing to take advice, have mentorship, maybe be coachable. I think to be a good entrepreneur, you got to be willing to be coachable, because you're going to venture down new roads and do new things. But
I would think that a good portion of entrepreneurs that start don't want advice. They want to work for themselves, and they want to like think that they can do it or figure it out themselves.
I think some entrepreneurs are that way, but also I think the ones who grasp that concept faster and their business excels will take advice. Will listen to mom.
Yeah.
Because that is where I feel like some people miss the boat. You have people saying, "Hey, you shouldn't do that." No, this will work. And then mom's like, "I'm telling you, you should not do this," and then you do it and it doesn't work, then, But mom's not going to be, I feel like moms aren't going to be the one like, "I told you shouldn't have done that."
I think that the biggest part of having a village, I guess, if you will, when it comes to entrepreneurship, is having diversity in your village.
Yes.
Of having those people. So, I have some people who really don't know much about business, but they're just my ultimate cheerleaders. And they're like, "You can do this. You're awesome. I love you. I love what you're doing."
Right.
But then I have people who are like, that idea that you have is stupid, and it's not going to be profitable.
Correct.
And I need those people too.
Yes, you need both.
So you need to make sure that you're just not. I think that's true for anything in life, even with friends and personal decisions. I have the people that I know, if I go to them, they're going to tell me, that's a dumb decision. But then I have people who are like, just as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And so, and I like to have those both kinds of friendships that will keep me in line and keep me in check.
Do you go to see certain people because you want to hear the certain answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. I keep it real. I know what, I know when I'm about to make a stupid decision, but I want to make it anyway. I go to, my biggest cheerleader. My best friend is always, she's the one that will say, as long as you're happy, I love you no matter what. And so,
but sometimes do you need to go to the other person to get the real answer?
For sure. And I won't avoid asking other people.
See, I feel like that's just mom. That's the, because I feel like most moms are going to be like,
break it down.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You should not do that.
But they usually say it in a nicer way.
Yeah. They're very good at telling you your baby's ugly.
Maybe you should think about something else, pivoting their attention somewhere else.
Well, we're going to get ready to check out, or I'm sorry, check it. Oh my gosh.
Check. Oh,
we're getting ready to clock out, so we're going to jump to at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, give me some stats.
Some stats in regards to
statistics about business.
Oh,
what you got for me, TA?
So these are 2019 statistics.
2019.
What was the total SBA 7A funding amount?
I feel like we've had this.
No, we have not.
3.2 million.
No, actually, it was $19.1 billion.
Ooh, where's that money come from?
Funding. So, like the SBA doesn't really, they just back the money. They just back it. So they're not lending it out.
So this is not real money, is that what you're saying?
They're just government backing it. Where did that?
Monopoly.
That's such a good one. Ooh, this is really good. I like this one because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. What percentage of small business owners credit self-discipline for success?
Oh, what percentage credit that? 72.
38%.
Ooh.
Thought that was a little low.
Yeah. I feel like that's very low. I would think that they.
Ooh, this is good. This should be good, especially the other podcasts. This is perfect. What percentage of female small business owners credit people and communication skills for success?
Female business owners?
Mm-hmm. What percentage?
84. Female business owners?
37%.
Oh, women. I wonder what are their answers? I feel like this should be like Family Feud where we and they tell us like the top 5 answers on the board.
I'm not as good looking as Steve Harvey is, so
we haven't had a slew of not haired people lately. Speaking of Steve Harvey.
The last 2 guests have been.
Yeah.
We've all got the same hairstyle going
yeah.
on. What percentage of business owners started a company to be their own boss?
42. Higher or lower?
Higher.
Ooh, 74.
55.
55.
This is a good one too because this is so true. And if you know me personally, I've talked about this one. I think it's a huge push because we put so much emphasis on going to college. What percentage of small business owners had high school as highest level of education?
Percentage of entrepreneurs had college as their highest level.
Their highest level of education was high school.
52.
No, it's actually only 33%.
Oh gosh.
But
think of so that means of all the entrepreneurs out there, that's the 32%. That means 72% have, or whatever, I think I did that wrong, but
education.
Have higher education, like kind of probably a wasted degree. Blech, that's so much money.
I know. This is
wait. Pause. If you had to go back, well, you might need do you need a college degree where you're at?
Yeah. And that goes back to
I do not. I would not need a college degree.
That goes back to part of the story of, if you talk about my personal story, starting school, quitting school, going back to school, working in a scenario where someone had a degree and didn't have a degree. You know, the person in front of me had a degree and they made more money. And I said, I do a better job than they do. And that was part of the reason going back. And so, that was part of my assertion of going back. Now that I'm in my current role, yes, you have to have a degree.
Will you encourage your kids to, how much will you encourage your kids to go to college?
My expectation for my kids is they need to get something other than a high school degree. If you want to go to college, it's great. I think all my kids are smart enough to go to college. That's fantastic. If you want to go to trade school, go to trade school. But you got to do something other than just getting a high school. I feel like you got to do something to secure your future, whether it be cosmetology, because you can be a license there.
What if they launch a business at 18 and they're...
You can launch a business and go to school. I'm all about... I spent years in the insurance business. And insurance, all that is just a backup plan.
I know.
And I'm all about having them a backup plan.
But college is expensive these days. And I was fortunate enough that my dad helped me with college, so I graduated debt-free. And I think that changes the trajectory of your life to be able to be debt-free. There are people who are my age that are still paying off college debt. And it's that's
me. But I also say, too, I wouldn't be in the position I am now if I didn't have that. And I'm in such a better position now, long term, yes.
I would not.
I think you need to plan.
Yeah.
I always think you can plan. Well, and especially in Tennessee, you can get an associate's degree for free now. You need to at least get that.
Okay. I guess Tyler says go to college. Anyway, on that note, at the end of the day, we're going to cash that check. And
we're checking out today.
Peace out. Like, subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your friends how cool Cashin The Check is. TA squared.
Shout out to Mark Farley, Jeff Brown, letting us do this.
Thanks for Jeff to come on the podcast.
Thanks for Jeff for coming on the podcast. Mr. Farley's going to be on here very soon.
At some point.
We out.